Hello friends, welcome to EPG Pathshala. My name is Dr. Asha Patik, Associate Professor from SNDT Women's University, Mumbai. Today we are going to see details about structure and functions of primers. The broad objective towards which current literacy programs are directed is functional literacy. Aim of functional literacy is not to impart mere literacy, but help people to understand their immediate problems and to provide them with the knowledge and skills to solve them through their own efforts. It is an attempt to improve their quality of life by giving the minimum of education needed to improve their way of life, health, productivity, social and economic and political organization. Primers play a very important role in achieving these objectives, as it is the basic tool for imparting functional literacy to the adults. In this module, we will learn about the functions and structure of primers. Let us see the learning objectives. After completion of this module, the learners will be able to name different types of literacy primers, describe structure of primer, explain structure of lesson, list functions of primers, etc. As all of you know, in adult education program, the very process of learning to read and write is utilized by the learners for acquiring necessary knowledge and skills related to their needs and interests. The aim is to generate positive attitude, develop scientific outlook for doing all these things. Moreover, to improve their functional knowledge and skills for living, civic and community participation, and for maintaining a satisfactory family life, functional literacy is important. At the same time, it is essential that they acquire literacy skills to become self-reliant. Primers help in achieving these objectives, as they are the main instructional materials used to impart literacy. Primers are developed based on prescribed thematic and literacy curriculum. Literacy curriculums are based on prescribed levels in literacy, that is reading, writing and numeracy to be achieved. Minimum levels of literacy are also needed to be acquired by the adult learners. There are many levels of literacy varying from merely ability to read a simple sentence and to write one's own name to a high level of maturity in reading and writing. Presently, focus is on functional literacy, which assumes that the training given should be such that the learner should be able to meet independently the reading, writing and computation demand made upon them. To achieve this objective, that is to become self-reliant in terms of literacy, a minimum level of literacy and duration is usually fixed by program planners. Duration to achieve this level is also decided by the program planners. Literacy primers. Let us see how it looks and what are its details. Literacy primers are books or a series of books for teaching, learning, reading, writing and numeracy. These are helpful to assist teachers in teaching. Primers are especially prepared where teachers get little or no pedagogical training. Many teachers are unable to provide an effective sequence of early reading, writing and computation activities without a well-planned primer. A primer and its teacher's guide save valuable planning time for a new teacher and classroom time as well. Even in the absence of the teacher's guide, a well-planned primer may serve as a guide to teachers. Neo-literate or semi-literate learners use primers to learn literacy skills. Usually, primer is the only material that is possessed by the learner. They may use it independently after class also. Usually, primer is the only material that is possessed by the learners. Literacy programs may include different types of primers such as basic literacy primer, thematic primer, bridge primer, transition primers and e-primer. Let us see all the primers in detail. Basic literacy primers are designed to teach basic reading, writing and computation skills to non-literate and semi-literate learners. The content of the primer focuses on teaching and learning of basic reading, writing and comprehensive and numeracy skills. Bridge primers are used to consolidate and stabilize the newly acquired skills of learners and gradually reduce their dependency on teachers. These also provide them opportunity to apply the acquired literacy skills in their daily life and continue their learning under the guidance of teacher till they achieve literacy norms prescribed to become independent learners. The thematic primers, they are woven on certain themes throughout the content. Examples of themes may be health, social issue, vocational skill, government schemes such as Numeracy or cutting and tailoring for a women's literacy class. Let us see the cover page of this thematic primer which is prepared on Numeracy. This thematic primer is based on Numeracy scheme. The primer's name is Har Hath Ko Kaam, Narega Praveshika 1, Har Hath Ko Kaam, Narega Praveshika 2. Thematic primers on Narega scheme we have seen just now. Now let us see the other primer, that is transition primers. These primers are designed to assist new independent readers of one language apply their new skills to become literate in another language. E-primers are fast emerging as an effective tool to impart literacy. Many state resource centers have converted their basic literacy primers into bridge primers. Let us see the structure of primer. Structure of primers are developed based on prescribed curriculum and prescribed levels in reading, writing and numeracy, which is known as 3 R's, to be achieved by the learners. Their purpose is to provide orderly development of a thoughtful reading attitude, skill in recognizing words accurately and independently, and ability to grasp the meaning of what is read. Different agencies use different types of primers. There may be separate primers for literacy and numeracy, having separate workbooks for each skill, or integrated primers having reading, writing and numeracy in the same primer. Similarly, different agencies and different countries use different methods to introduce skipped, that is method of teaching to the learners. Method of teaching reading is different in all the classes. There are number of methods of teaching reading skills to adults like alphabetic method, story method, phrase method, sentence method, phonetic method, syllabic keyword method and so on. But all these methods may be classified under 3 broad categories. They include synthetic method, analytic method and eclectic method. Synthetic method is a traditional method also known as alphabetic method. In this method, teaching starts from the individual letters of an alphabet and proceed to build words and from words to phrases and sentences. Let us see one lesson which is based on synthetic method. Here the lesson is taken from the primer and the lesson number is 13, where 3 words are introduced, 3 alphabets are introduced, and from those 3 alphabets new words are prepared. An Urdu lesson is based on synthetic method. Primers based on analytical method use words, phrases or sentences as basic unit of learning. These are then analyzed into smaller units of language, that is individual letters or sound symbols. Here I am going to show you a few lessons based on this method, that is analytical method. In this picture one can see the picture of house, a woman working in the house as well as a woman who is doing some skill development work. Below these pictures the words are written, that is house means ghar, gharwali that is a housewife, and business she is doing gharelu dhanda. Based on this the prerak can continue discussion and after that he can teach the whole lesson. The third method is eclectic method, which is a combination of analytic method and synthetic method. In this method, after analyzing the sentences, phrases and words into letters, a learner can build up a new vocabulary, leading to formation of new words, phrases, sentences, paragraphs. Nowadays, this method is being used by most of the learners and in most of the countries. Let us see a few illustrations based on eclectic method. The lesson number 3 is Mehnat se Kamai. In this lesson 3 alphabets are introduced and 1 Aki-matra is introduced, and based on that new words are prepared followed by new sentences. Every method has its own strengths and weaknesses. It is most debatable issue in preparation of primers. You have learnt about these methods in detail in another module. How many number of lessons should be included, whether to include clothes examination of or not, all these issues are also taken into consideration. You will find that due to different methods, main difference is in beginning lessons. The end lessons are almost same in all the primers. Let us see the content. The thematic contents and literacy contents of primers are very important. Lessons are decided based on the curriculum and duration of the program. The thematic contents of the primers must relate to the felt needs, immediate activities and interests of the learners. This ensures the quality, better and faster learning. Identification of relevant content is done through survey, observations, study of the target group, their developmental problems and finding the ways and means of solving them and so on. Contents usually relate to the health issues, livelihood, economic issues, social issues, sanitation, civic sense, environment, government schemes, political issues, culture, entertainment and so on. Number of lessons and size of primers contents are divided into a series of lessons for a sequence of instruction. Usually, a series of 24 lessons are there in a primer. These may be given in a single book or a series of small 2 or 3 books. Each book contains about 50 pages and a total of more or less 150 pages. Here I am going to show a few primers which are may be divided into series of small books, that is part 1, part 2 and part 3. illustration show the primers. Literacy experts in many countries recommend that primers should be printed in a series of 3 to 5 books. One of the distinct advantages of short primers is that each can be finished in a relatively short time. As a result, adults become aware of progress they are making and thus acquire confidence in their ability to learn. This helps in better progress and achievements. Style of writing, continuous descriptive content makes reading monotonous and dull. Therefore, each lesson is presented in the form of simple episode, true to life story, description of activities that are of immediate concern of adult learners, drama, dialogue, song, poems, games and simple narrations. Some lessons are based on folk stories and folk songs just for joy of learning. Here we are giving the various ways in which contents are presented in the primer. Mixing up descriptions and story formats according to one's convenience without any design. The beginning with a story form with a definite plan but not sustaining it throughout the primer. Making a story run through the entire book or part of it. In such primers, writers use same characters throughout the whole or larger part of the primer. It ensures a unified expanding body of ideas, connecting lessons from each other, promoting both word recognition and a clear grasp of meaning. This helps learners acquire a growing feeling of familiarity with the situations described and increasing confidence in their ability to read the next lesson. Vocabulary. Vocabulary introduced is in about 250 to 300 most frequently used words in their daily conversation, plus additional words as may be needed in presenting vital content. Illustrations in literacy primers are shown here. Illustrations are used freely following various reasons. Illustrations by their mere presence make books attractive. One of the main purpose of illustrations is to stimulate discussions as a preparatory step in reading and writing. Illustrations are used to stimulate discussions. Here we are going to see some illustrations which are included in the primer. This purpose continues till written primer has not reached the stage which could generate discussion itself. Illustrations support written text as well. We have seen this picture where good illustrations are given in the primer. Illustrations are used in exercises to provide clues and make them interesting. See this lesson, how the illustrations are incorporated in exercise part of the primer. Thus, illustrations make exercise interesting. To help learner to learn numeracy, especially learning numbers in initial stage, if are taught through certain games or maybe through certain drawings, learners enjoy it. Learning with doing, this purpose is also served, as well as learning with joyful, that is also served. The illustrations in numeracy teaching is very interesting. Test and evaluation, measuring progress of learners and providing help as needed is very important for the success of program. Teaching cannot and should not continue without taking stock of what is taught is imbibed by the learners or not. For purpose of ensuring that assessment becomes an essential aspect of teaching, Good primers provide facility for formative and summative evaluations in primer itself. Here we are going to see how illustrations and evaluation tests are incorporated in the primer. Good primers provide facility for formative evaluations. Such tests appear as extension of the lessons and exercises. This means that only the portion of skills and knowledge which has been provided for learning in the lessons is tested and nothing else. In addition to this, the methods and devices used in exercises alone are given in the evaluation. It means tests are kept learner friendly. Layout. Let us see what is the layout of the primer. Usually A4 size primers are preferred as it could accommodate more matter. Care is taken to make page layout visually pleasing. Primers are usually composed in 30 to 28 font size. Headings are 32 point and they are in bold, and exercises are similar to text. Instructions are given in 18 to 16 font size. Good white space is left as margin all around the pages. So that the page does not look cluttered. More than normal space is given between words, phrases and lines so that it does not create reading difficulty for adults. Usually, quality of text and cover page is also good to prevent damage due to rough use by the adult learners. Use of pre-literacy material in primers. This is a debatable issue. Some adult educators are of the opinion that before starting actual teaching learning process, learners should be exposed to some material which would motivate them and prepare them for reading and writing. According to them, learning is a new and strange experience for adults. Therefore, they hesitate in speaking and expressing themselves. Moreover, their hands and fingers would have never held a pen or pencil. Therefore, they add some pre-literacy material in the primer, like give some pictures related to the life of learners in which they get engrossed and start conversing with each other. Here is the picture which shows the pre-literacy material before starting actual literacy class. The pre-literacy material pictures help to start conversation among learners. For conditioning of hand movement, some pre-writing practice is also provided, which is shown in this picture. That means the learners can draw slanting lines, straight lines, curved lines, and through that they learn how to write. Such literacy material is useful especially for making hand movement easy. Let us see the structure of lessons. Lessons are divided in three parts, that is keywords or key sentences, which is at the beginning of the lesson, which may also be included in the title of the lesson. To support the keywords, sentences, phrase, a picture is given. This picture is used to awaken the interest of learners in the content, to develop background for understanding what is read, and to introduce in a meaningful setting the new words that will appear in the lesson. Teacher uses these words while discussing the picture. Various devices are also used to arouse an attitude of expectancy concerning the content of the lesson through a discussion of the title, by studying the pictures, and by raising problems that can be solved or may be minimized through reading. After that, the words are analyzed in symbols. This is an illustration where one can conduct discussion on the issues shown in the picture. Use of pictures to arouse interest in the content of lessons is very important. Focusing on new symbols introduced in the lessons, many new words are created. These are known as built words. Here I am showing you a few words, how they are break up into alphabets, vowels, and how the new words are prepared. The content of lesson follows the built-in words. Lessons are written in short sentences which limits 3 to 4 lessons are in a form of phrases connected to the topic of lessons. This is done in initial lessons through combined use of text and illustrations. From 4th lesson onwards, as soon as the vocabulary permits, lessons are written within familiar adult pattern using mix of phrases and sentences leading to meaningful text. Pictures are used freely in introducing words and ideas in a meaningful setting. Lessons are carefully graded. There is gradual development of text from lesson to lesson. In each next lesson, 5 to 7 words are increased. Big jumps in the text could scare the learners. Usually, lesson 1 has 8 to 10 words and lesson 12 has 70 to 80 words. In each lesson, not more than 4 new symbols are introduced. Each new symbol taught in lesson is exposed to the learners 3-4 times in the text. Many more exposures are made in exercises and drills. Old symbols are also repeated 2 to 3 times up to at least next 3 to 4 lessons. Longer exposure of symbols and words help in longer retention. In the initial lessons, the phrases and sentences are kept small. Starting from 3 to 4 words, the one sentence is prepared. The length of words goes up to 5 to 6 words at the end of the lesson 9. However, sentence in the last lesson or primer should not be longer than 7 to 8 on an average. Numeracy lessons. Numeracy occupies a very important place in the life of adult learners. They continuously make use of it in their daily life while counting money, purchasing things in liters, kilograms, meters, calculating income and expenditure and so on. Usually, discovery method is used to teach numeracy to adults. The discovery method requires learners' initiative to know further to what they already know. This is called heuristic method. Numeracy lessons may be given in the form of separate primer or in the literacy primer itself. In India, the improved pace and content of learning, that is IPCL approach, is used to introduce numeracy, which is integrated with literacy lessons. The learning part of numeracy is given below the reading text. The numeracy presented in lessons is related to learners' life and their routine work. Numeracy is a system. In lessons, examples are also given explaining the system, that is, once the learners know that a 0 placed on the right side of the number raises its value, okay, then they can guess the other numbers with 0 on the right side, that is 10, 20, 30, 40, etc. It becomes easy to learn and do. So, for example, 100, 200, 300 and so on. Following table illustrates how numeracy is taught in adult education centers. Now, let us see drills and exercises. It is a simple pedagogical principle that rate of retention becomes high with good and proper drills and exercises. Exercises and drills are given at the end of each lesson. Few programs use workbooks in place of exercises and drills. The exercises, drills and workbooks provide added practice on specific aspects of reading. that is the ability to recognize sound and shape of the letters, to differentiate between word forms, analyze words into elements, comprehension, answer to questions and so on. Exercises are also given for writing practices and numeracy also. Here I would like to show how the exercises are integrated in the primers, including the mathematics. It would not be too wide to say that the learning section of the lessons slowly flow into the prescribed practicing section. It means if due to certain restrictions, writer could not include some matter into lesson, she could carry it to the exercises portion. Good primers have lively and entertaining exercises which help not only in repeating what is learnt, but in bringing out the learner's creativity. The aim of exercises is not purely judgmental, but one of the persuasion, helping learners to develop the ability of making up challenges and allowing them what they wish to do and say. See, these are the some illustrations which explain this theme. Some challenging exercises are included in most of the primers. Examples of exercises to bring out creativity of learners is shown in this exercise. Now let us see the bridge primer. The purpose of bridge primer is to develop through carefully planned lessons the understanding and skills needed for rapid progress. It should enable the learners to move from teacher dependency to self-reliance through self-motivated, self-directed learning. Bridge primers may have 9 to 12 lessons. Lessons are carefully graded, introducing nearly 700 new words of high frequency. Hard words of daily use are introduced carefully. Each difficult word is repeated as much as possible, but not less than 5 times. Difficult words used in the lessons must be selected and displayed in the beginning of the lessons. These words could relate to their either reading or writing difficulty. Once these are explained and practiced, reading and understanding of text becomes very easy. Here I am going to show a illustration of bridge primer where hard words are displayed in the beginning of the lesson. The lessons relate to things, activities and things that are really interest the learner. Lessons are kept small, simple and entertaining, having lots of suitable and relevant illustrations. One can see all these illustrations from the picture. Let us see competency part. Competencies to achieve or competencies to be achieved after completion of bridge primer are almost same as those to be achieved at the end of basic literacy primer. Main difference is in their quality. More stress is given on the skills which could be used in day-to-day life. For example, understanding instructions, posters, notice boards, charts, reading of newspaper headings, writing letters and application, filling of forms, keeping account of salary and expenditure, calculating bank account and loan interest, etc. The figure shown here shows how it is taught in the literacy class. Reading of newspaper and filling of form is their day-to-day work. Let us see about improved pace and content of learning, that is IPCL. In India, primers are developed on the innovative approach known as IPCL. Under this approach, integrated primers are developed in which literacy, numeracy, drills and exercises evaluations are integrated together. The key aspect of development of IPCL primers include generation of interest, motivation and confidence building among learners. Structure of IPCL lesson is illustrated here. Let us see how IPCL is inbuilt in the various part of the primer. Now I would like to explain the functions of primers. Primers occupy a strategic place in a literacy program. The content, credibility, validity and reliability of primers play a crucial role in success of literacy program. Functions of well prepared primers are sustainability as well as the increasing the interest of the learners. Primers provide for orderly development of a thoughtful reading attitude, skills in recognizing letters and words accurately and independently. Ability to grasp the meaning of what is read is also very important. To deepen interest in reading, writing and numeracy among learners is also another purpose of preparation of the primers. To achieve minimum level of literacy prescribed by the program implementing agency is achieved through IPCL method. Another very important objective is to develop a sight vocabulary of carefully selected words and enable learners read most of the words commonly used in personal correspondence, news items, notice and simple bulletins and simple books is achieved through this method. IPCL also promotes skills in reading and comprehending various kinds of materials and reading for different purposes. It includes reading of booklets, posters, charts, newspapers, magazines and so on. To react thoughtfully to what is read and applying the ideas acquired in meeting, personal or group is needed. To develop interest in reading for pleasure and information is also achieved through IPCL method. It enables to write things of their interest and use it. It also enables learners to keep accounts related to their home and work. It stimulates a desire to acquire ability to read, write and compute beyond the level attained at the end of primer. It enables the learners to use reading, writing and arithmetic skills for their needs and interests. It helps to generate positive attitude, scientific outlook among learners. Another very important objective of IPCL is to improve their functional knowledge and skills for living, civic and community participation and for maintaining a satisfactory family life. It provides opportunity to understand their social and physical environment. Thus, to summarize, I would like to say primers are the main tools used to impart functional literacy. Primers provide for the orderly development of a thoughtful reading attitude, skills in recognizing letters and words accurately and independently. It also helps to improve the ability in grasping the meaning of what is read. Primers are greatly preferred where teachers get little or no training. Primers are developed based on prescribed thematic and literacy curriculum. The vocabulary used consists of most frequently used words in everyday life. Language used is very simple. Different agencies use different methods. It includes synthetic method, analytic method, eclectic method to introduce the script. Different types of primers are used by different agencies, but the purpose of all the primers is the same, that is to help learners to become self-reliant in terms of literacy and help them to understand their immediate problems and to provide them with the knowledge and skills to solve their problems. Thank you.